thanks for staying with us. Maryland's government is preparing for a reorganization, and it's probably a long time overdue. Ken, what does this mean for the state and its citizens?
Well, so we haven't reorged since, what, 1970?
1968.
68?
Marvin
Okay.
Mandel.
And so really we need
Wasn't
to
he
make-
convicted of something, Marvin Mandel?
Hey, focus.
Well, you know,
Yeah, that was
you know,
every Maryland governor back then was convicted of something.
Focus.
you know, at least we're not Chicago where they make their own
Back
license
to
plates with
reorg.
their governors.
Yeah.
Reorg government. Let's
So,
focus.
you know, as far as, you know, the reorg goes, you know, over time, organizations, and that's as any organization, a government organization, a business organization, you have to do a reorganization because you need to make sure you're up with the times and make sure you're a more efficient organization. I absolutely believe that a reorg, if efficiently implemented, can be a good thing. You know, do I have faith in the reorg being efficiently implemented? I don't know yet. I don't know. You know, we'll see what happens. But, you know, one of the important things to realize, though, is if we haven't reorged since the 1970s, then how out of whack is all of our technology between, you know, one department in Maryland and another department in Maryland? You know, is there a potential cost savings there? Most likely. I mean, you know, are they even on the same email system? I would hope so, but I'm guessing they might not be.
So the guy that they hired, or that Governor Hogan hired to do this, was a former Anne Arundel County executive. He was a former state senator, former state delegate, and also worked for Johns Hopkins for a number of years.
Okay.
Guy's name is Bobby Neal, and what is interesting about him, and you know, again, we've talked on this show before about Hogan's approval rating so far, and this might be part of his good approval ratings. This is a guy that both Democrats and Republicans love.
Yeah.
And his goal, or at least as it's being defined today, is not to go in and cut services, but to go in to reorganize for efficiency. Because obviously the Democratic legislature is going to be somewhat skeptical
Sure.
about anything a Republican governor brings to the table. So we bring this guy that they already love, and we give him a mandate not to cut services, but to make it more efficient. That sounds like a recipe for potential success to me.
You know, and I really hope it will be. I mean,
I was at a Maryland Economic Development Association annual conference a month ago, and the entire governor's cabinet was there, every secretary of different departments, and we were able to meet with them and talk with them. And if there hasn't been a reorg or restructuring in
68, almost 50
yeah,
years.
almost 50 years, 58 years, 58 years, then, I mean, look at how much things have changed and time has changed since then and how much we're differently focused on. To me, there's got to be a cost saving. It's efficientizing. You know, it's the same thing as hiring a consultant to come into your business and
Right.
go through and be like, okay, what can we efficientize? What
So-
can we make more productive?
Maryland spends about $42 billion a year on services to us, the citizens. We have 80,000 entrenched bureaucrats in Maryland government and nearly 10,000 contract workers. And those are huge numbers.
and that's something where I'm going to kind of wonder if we're going to see any cost savings there, because I know the very first thing that's going to be resisted is any attempts to cut any positions.
Yep.
So, you know, with that said, I do hope that something that can come out of it would be interdepartment communication becoming more efficient.
And how about we not cut positions, but we actually say, can we redefine your position descriptions? Can we redefine your job duties to better fit the needs of today?
Well, and
To say, we're looking at, you know, if you just look at manufacturing, if you look at business and small business and startups and, you know, emerging technology companies and where we're at, it's drastically different than it was in the 60s. So therefore, if we look at how do we spend things, how do we change things, the environment focus, transportation, we have completely different demands across the state now than we did back then. So maybe what part of it needs to do is we're not looking to cut jobs. What we're looking to do is actually modify, because when I was at META, half of the attendees are from the Maryland Department of Commerce. And then we also had folks from Maryland Housing and Community Development, and we had the Governor's Office of Minority Affairs. It's like, okay, so what are y'all doing? How does it overlap? And then how do we actually get this to match up so that we're actually doing something that makes a difference and moves the needle when it comes to activity in the state? And it's
Yeah.
not just wasted money spent
Right.
on something about the joke where it's like, oh, well, you know, you've got 3 state workers, one's digging the hole, one's filling the hole back up, and it's like, well, the guy that puts the post in is out
Yeah.
sick today.
Or he's supervising.
So one of the things that I read is the potential savings, and I don't know whether this would mean jobs lost or not. It probably would at some level, but just the whole idea of centralized purchasing. I mean, if you've got 5 different departments all buying their own copier paper, does that really make sense?
Right.
You know, is there potential loss of jobs there? Yeah, but is that cutting the services of government to the
Right.
citizens?
Well, and also,
I
you
think
know,
not.
and that's a great example because if you get all 5 of those departments combined together, then they have a larger group purchasing power, and they can probably get
Better
a
rate.
better discount from the vendors.
Well, the
So-
other thing that was pointed out in the article I read is Maryland is seen as lagging in IT, as evidenced by the botched implementation of the Affordable Care Act website. And I think that that's something else that is hopefully going to come of this survey, is to look at the IT and
Yeah.
say, where should we go next?
You know, and that's desperately needed because, so for example, I was trying to look up the plot for my property. And I go in there and I type in the book number for the plot and the lot number. And, you know, that website, it gives me back an error. Well, you can't leave all those fields blank. I didn't leave the fields blank. I had stuff in the fields. So, it's just stuff like that, and then we're still using the system to organize our plots based upon what book did we have the plot stored in.
Yeah.
Not what's the plot's electronic serial number or
Right.
anything like that.
Well, and think about, I'll give you a perfect example of a government service that we all probably don't enjoy. I won't say we hate, because I want to be respectful to these people, but think about your last trip to the Motor Vehicles Administration. Is that an efficiently run organization? In some respects, probably, yeah. But I'm sure we could all go through that last trip in our mind and come up with ideas of how they could maybe do things better.
Yeah.
So,
I agree.
Yeah. Well, and one good thing on that is they do have the electronic kiosk in there now.
Right.
So that helps. That does help.
I was in there the other week, it didn't work.
Didn't work. Well, okay, it helps when it works.
well, it helps when it works.
I think we need to go ahead and wrap this up. Let's see, up next, overtime for everyone, okay? But maybe not everyone, but definitely a lot more. So please stay with us.